Good evening, everyone. I'm Isaac, and I'm happy to welcome you all to Knox Makers this evening. It is Tuesday, which is our traditional evening for brotherhood and fellowship. We get together with our projects and commiserate over failures and celebrate successes and generally share information and encouragement. We've got several shares for you this evening. The first of which is from Arno, who has got a hobby cold stamping project to show us.
Just go ahead and pull these out. Hi everyone, my name's Arno, I'm new here. I work in automotive. We make car parts. We take pieces of sheet metal and we form them in stamping dies. And these stamping dies are massive. They're 20, 30 tons, and they go in these presses that are 2 stories tall, 3 stories tall, take thousands of tons of pressure to form. And I thought, what if I can make that out of 3D printing? I've seen some people do that on YouTube, just some really basic stuff, but most of them did it with sort of solid models, and the only thing I had access to was sort of your normal filament 3D printer. So I decided I'll take a 3D printed part and fill it with resin to give me the support I need. So this was the sort of first part I made. I just printed this upside down, and I stopped the print so that you may or may not be able to see sort of the infill on the inside. And then I just held that upside down, poured it with epoxy to make it solid. And then I took a piece of sheet metal, put it over the top. And normally with a die, you have a top and a bottom. And I didn't feel like printing 2 of these, one for the inner die and one for the outer die. So I actually just took a piece of rubber, very, very hard rubber. You can barely bend this, and put it over the top, put it in a hydraulic press, pressed it, and formed this metal part. So that was my first attempt. You can see this is very, very ugly. Epoxy does not want to behave very well. So I decided to try it again. So I printed another part. And this time, I didn't want to do epoxy because epoxy was expensive. So I switched to doing plaster of Paris. So I did the same thing. I printed it upside down. I stopped the print. You can see the infill there. I filled it with plaster of Paris. I had a little bit of leak through, but nothing super, super major. And then I did the same thing. And in fact, I was so successful, I actually tore the metal. You can see it's broken. So this is 5 thou, so I made another one, and I broke that one too. You can see it. So I said, screw it, I'll make a bigger one. So this is 10 thou. This took 8 tons of force before it formed that. And it's pretty damn stiff. Now that it's formed, it's been work hardened around the edge. I'll let people kind of play with those later. And then the last thing I'll show is just what it looked like in the press. Do that. Is that facing the right way? Yeah, that's good. So there it is in the press. So you have a sort of a solid block for the base. You have the 3D printed part. You have your sheet metal, the rubber, another piece of steel to distribute the force all the way across the rubber, and then finally the head of the press. And then there it is being pressed. You can see the rubber deformed around the part, and just the basic way that works is the force is distributed everywhere, so the rubber tries to fill all of the cracks. It performed really well. I was very happy with that. This took 8 tons of force, and the only things that it did, it smushed the sides a little bit. It sunk in the letters, but the letters are definitely still there. And it also broke my locators. Fun fact, don't put locators above the rest of it. You will damage your die. So that's all my pieces. Any questions? That's the place I work. It's Eagle Bend Manufacturing. It's in Clinton. Anything else?
So what kind of metal? Is that aluminum, steel? What is that?
This is shim stock, so it's steel. The two that broke were 5 thou shim stock, and this is 10 thou shim stock. You can see it's pretty rusty, so it's just kind of a normal mild steel. I can't remember if it's hardened or not. I don't think it is. So my idea is you can take a 3D printer, print out a form over 8 hours, fill it with epoxy or plaster of Paris, and then take it over to a hydraulic press and stamp a part for $20, you know, instead of having to buy a $100,000 stamping die. Right.
Was it 3D, you did a 3D printing on a grid pattern and poured the resin all the way through?
Yes. So I just had that kind of modeled up, and then I printed it in this orientation. And then I just did a square infill. And like I said, I just stopped it when it got very close to where my set depth was, and then, yeah, just poured the resin, the plaster of Paris right in the top there.
Is that a 20% infill?
I believe this is 20%, yeah. All right.
That's a really cool project. I don't think I've seen anybody do that at Knox Makers before. Glad to have you here with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate you sharing that with us.
And then I'll still be here the rest of the night, so if you want to come see these, hold them, feel free.
Awesome, thank you. Next up, we've got Russell, who has brought in an updated lamp.
This may look familiar. Thank you, Isaac. This may look familiar. Last time you saw this, because this cage fits so well into this glass vase, I just left it sitting in there. Didn't get very good response for that. And the lovely and talented Mrs. P said, nah, it needs something. So I went back to the bench, got some parts. I forget where that came from. This is a glass insulator, an antique insulator. And so I just moved everything up. And then for the inside, last time it didn't have a switch either. You just plugged it in to turn it on, which I didn't like. So this isn't going to fit under there. So we'll put him up here. So we added some, this way. So we added some magic inside as well. So that we've got some fire in there. I made a lamp for my grandson, he was 2.5 at the time, and his lamp had one of these little bulbs in it, and he would just stare at it and point at it and say, "Fire, fire!" So, but Mrs. P is still a little bit critical. She doesn't like these wires showing in the bottom. I left it like that so you could unscrew this, kind of sit this to the side and change this bulb. But nevertheless, I need to do something to clean these wires that are showing up in here. And then I think maybe it will finally be finished. So anyway, that's what I'm shooting for. It's glass. It's just an old glass vase. I haunt estate sales to try to find just old junk that I can make lamps out of. I've got a bunch of these glass insulators of all shapes, sizes, and colors that I use for different things. That was probably a candle holder base or something, I don't know. The cage is obviously for a light bulb. I don't know what it was on originally. And then the stuff on the inside, I just use brass, cut it to length, thread it, put my different pieces together and whatnot. Also, I want to thank Isaac publicly for the cool laser tube that he bid on, and then gave me the tube, and I can't wait to tear into that thing and light it up. So thank you, Isaac. And we're going to get that thing built up and publicly auction it and whatever funds come in will be donated to the Knox Makers. So thank you, Isaac. I appreciate it. Any questions on the update? Okay, bring it on then. All right, yeah.
Thank you, Russell. It tickles me imagining how excruciatingly well lit your house must be. We've got one more share this evening. Mike has brought a laser cut box to share with us. Mike?
I had some lathe tools that came in a flimsy cardboard box that was getting more bent every time I tried to get the chisels out of it. So I decided to put it in something a little more sturdy and use the moon raker to cut a box with the fingers that are cut with the laser, and they fit right together. Had a little bit of trouble finding parts for the hinges and the latch for a box this short, but managed to find a latch that I just use a dowel to close it with, and then I can open it up, and there's the lathe, there's the tools. So. That's it.
I've got a question. Did you use the Inkscape extension?
Yeah.
For the box? The box? Okay. Can it fit together just?
Yeah, it not too tight. Just enough room for the glue.
That's very attractive and useful. That's lovely. Did anyone else bring anything to share that did not get to sign up? Have any stray shares this evening? Guess not. A couple of announcements to share with you this evening. Obviously, we're back to masking tonight. We've taken the measure of requiring masks on our Tuesday evening open house and also in-person classes, but otherwise, masking in the workshop is optional. It's up to your own discretion. So we'll be keeping an eye on the situation and trying to figure out what the best thing is to do. But appreciate everybody's tolerance of this. Hopefully that will be for the best. We have a couple of upcoming classes in the next couple of days. Tomorrow, Doc is running his first lockpicking class. That's going to be happening at 6 p.m. As of 30 minutes ago, at least, there was one ticket remaining. It looks like a really cool class, and unfortunately that ticket has sold. So forget I mentioned it. But I believe Doc does have the intention to run this class monthly. So if you've missed out, then you don't have to have missed out for very long. I'm really excited to see this develop. It's really cool to have a professional here to teach that instead of the alternative, which we've done in the past. So thank you, Doc, for arranging that for us. And then Thursday, we've got the Woodworking 101 class. That is at 7 p.m., and I believe there's still 3 tickets left for that. Not sure. As of a few minutes ago anyway. So if you've not yet been off in the woodworking area and you'd like to use all the awesome and exciting tools we've got in there, there still, I believe, are a couple of tickets involved, available. And of course, you can benefit from Brian's tutelage. And the planer, you are almost at the finish line on that, right?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but we're within a couple $100.
Yeah, within a couple of $100 on the fundraiser for the new planer. So if anybody has an extra pocket change, you haven't dug through your sofa recently, be super cool for us to get over that finish line and get that new planer in place, and it'd be a real benefit for everyone. So the 3D printer was a successful fundraiser. We've got all the money together for that, and that is actually ordered now. So we've got the extra fancy Prusa 3D printer with the multi-material upgrade on the way from overseas. So that's going to be an extremely cool upgrade to our 3D printing zone in the near future. Thanks to everyone who donated to that. I think that's going to be a real asset to the organization. So now, how about we go out in the workshop and mess around, maybe make some noise, make a mess. Thanks everybody for coming tonight.